Hi, I'm about to do a book review on The Devil's Highway. The Devil's Highway is a very, very interesting story, and I feel like it is very relevant now. Devil's Highway is actually a true story, and it's a story that talks about 26 men crossing the border illegally um, through the desert, passing the Devil's Highway, as the name of the book is called. And out of those 26 men, only 12 of the men come out alive. So the book starts off really, really intense. It talks about the it talks about how dangerous it is out there. It starts off in the minds of the men that are out there. They're dehydrated. They've been in the desert for a really long time. They're just in a really bad state of mind, and the book starts off right there. So it is very, very vivid. And it's a very interesting story, especially because my father crossed the border illegally multiple times. He risked his life multiple times. He didn't actually cross it through the desert, though, which I think it's safer to cross like the desert. It's just horrible to cross it through there. But even so, it's still dangerous. Nowadays, many illegal immigrants do not cross the border in that way. Most of the people or at least the ones that I personally know, I know that a lot of Central Americans do cross the border illegally, but when it comes to Mexicans, most of the Mexicans that I know, what they do is they get visas and then they come to the United States and they stay if they so desire. Um but this is a very interesting story because, like I said, I can really relate as a Mexican because I obviously, not that all Mexicans, which maybe they do, but um I just know a lot of illegal people. Thankfully, my parents, both of them, are US citizens, and they got their citizenship when they were really young. My dad came to the United States when he was 14. He came on his own. He crossed the border on his own, and it was just very, very harsh because where he lived, he wasn't. Well, yeah, he was. I'm not gonna say he was poor because he wasn't. He never needed anything to eat, but he wanted to live a better life. And if he stayed where he wasn't going to be able to do that because by the age of 14, he wasn't in school anymore. He just went to like fourth grade, which was, he just has elementary level education. But even so, my dad is a very smart and wise man. So, and I'm assuming that at the age of 14, he was also very mature for him to tell his parents that he was coming to the United States and actually come to the United States to work. So my dad came to the United States at the age of 14, and he, like I said, he crossed the border illegally, but he did it through and I know that he suffered a lot, especially because his family, like I said, they never missed a meal, but they just didn't have a lot of money. So what most people, or I would assume that, I even asked my dad, like, why didn't you just get a ride from like your part of Mexico to like the border and then you crossed it? But I guess that he didn't have money for that, or I don't know. But he said that he walked a lot, or I don't know how that worked because he never really says the story 100%. He crossed the border multiple times, but he never really likes to say the whole story. But what he does say is that he would walk for 5 days straight nights, because they would walk during the night, and during the day is when they would sleep, because they obviously didn't want to be caught by Border Patrol. Also, whenever they would sleep, they would put a rope around the people that were traveling, like around the perimeters of them. They would sleep there, and they would put a rope and then tie a knot at the front of the rope to make it look like a snake, and that way whenever they slept, it would keep other snakes away, because it would trick the snakes into thinking that that was a really big snake. So it was, he also said that they would need to drink from, like, it got to a point where you can only carry so much water, because you can't, water runs out quickly when you're walking, especially if you're walking for long periods of time. So you can only take so much water, and after it runs out, he said that they would get water from the wells that the cows from farms would drink water from. He said that that was their water source, because if they got any other type of water, it was salt water from like a natural lake or a river. It was salt water, so obviously they couldn't drink that. So he said that they would drink water from where the cows drink water. They would fill their jugs there. And he did that multiple times, and he is the oldest in his family, so he brought his siblings to the United States, and he always did his best to, he would always send his parents money to Mexico. And his dad, my grandpa, was a drunk. So, always a very good man, but he just had that defect. So, my dad would always send them $40 by week. Back in the day, that was a really long time ago, so $40 was a lot of money. Obviously inflation has affected the value of $40 of what it was back then, but $40 was a fair amount of money, and my dad would do his best to send his parents to support his siblings, because yeah, they had a farm, they worked, but like I said, it wasn't the bet. They were still, they could have lived better. So my dad helped them out in that way, and he would send them money. And his dad was a drunk, like I said. So sometimes he'll get so drunk after my dad sent him money that he would pass out. And because people in the town knew that my dad sent him money, they would steal all of my father's hard-earned money. So honestly, I would feel very, very bad if that happened, especially, you know. But I asked him how he felt about it, and he said, honestly, I didn't really care, because I knew that I did my part and that I sent it to them. And he said maybe those other people that stole it needed it more. So I really respect my dad for that, because even though this story that I just said about him is very short and brief, it just doesn't, it doesn't have as much feeling as it actually should. But what I meant to get at with this was that in the Devil's Highway, these are 26 men. Each men have individual reasons for coming to the United States. Every person that comes to the United States, just like my father, has a dream, has a goal to acquire, and they are willing to take risk. Out of those 26 men, only 12 came out alive. This is a true story that occurred in 2001, and it was one of the deadliest border crossing stories that they that had that they had heard of at the time. I don't know about now, but at the time it was a very, very big deal. And it's just really sad that people who give their everything to sacrifice end up not getting at their goal. Only 12 came out, and that is just really, really sad. And like I said, this story is a great story for like nowadays, for what's going on, the politics, and people not understanding the other side of the story and just wanting to judge. So this book does a great job at showing both sides of the story, the one of the migrants and the each individual man has a reason to come, and also those, like the ones who want to succeed, which are the migrants, and those who want to prevent you from your destination, which in this case is the border patrol. But it's just really I feel like this is just a microcosm of the social, um even though this is a true story, this is still a microcosm of the social issues that we are going through right now, especially speaking in terms of minorities, because it seems like we were on track to becoming a more liberal, open-minded nation. It seemed like everybody was getting a spot. It seemed like anybody could succeed in this nation because that was the point of this nation. But now things have changed. It is 2017 and things have changed. It seems like instead of going one step ahead, we've fallen 2 steps behind of where we were before. And now those people that want to succeed, there is a lot of people that want to drive you and prevent you from reaching your destination. And this applies to every individual person, but it mostly applies in this case relating to the book and relating to what I was getting at. Nowadays, it's relating more to minorities because minorities are being oppressed much more than what they were before. Like I said, instead of going one step ahead, we're falling two behind. And it's just getting harder. It's always been harder for minorities because we haven't 100% gotten there, but it seemed like it was getting better, and now we're just falling behind, and it's just harder to succeed. And a lot of people don't want to see you succeed. A lot of people will prevent you from getting from your destination. When you're a minority, you have to work twice as hard as anybody else to get half the recognition that another person would get. And I think that that's really sad, especially because we carry a lot of baggage relating to stereotypes that many times could be true, but stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. They're not always true. Just because a vast majority of our people, or at some point they were like that, doesn't mean that we're all like that. And I honestly, it angers me a lot when a minority has a stereotype and they live up to that stereotype, because you already know how difficult it is for us. You already know that people that are superior to us minorities have this bad image of us, and then you're going to prove it to them. That makes me so mad, because you are just proving to the people that don't want us to succeed why they don't want us to succeed, when not everybody is like that. But in this case of the book, 12 succeeded. These men were the ones with the most drive to succeed. They found their way. They out of the devil's highway. And I think it's really interesting to see that to see the feelings of these people, because like I said, um when you're a minority, you have a stereotype wherever you go placed on your forehead. People see you and they think of you as that stereotype and as nothing more. So the fact that this story went in depth into um the thoughts of these people is very, very interesting, because they you see that they're the victims, that even though they're doing something illegal to get to the United States, they're doing it because they are the victims and they want protection and they want a better life. So it's looking past the stereotypes. It's giving them a reason to do what they're doing, because everybody has a reason to do what they do, and nobody nobody should be judged based off of a stereotype. Even if they're doing the stereotype, they must have a reason, and it goes so much further than just being a cultural thing. There's a reason why people want to flee their country. So I think that, like I said, this was a very interesting story, especially because I have a lot of knowledge, firsthand knowledge of family members, my dad when he was younger, before he was a citizen, crossing the border illegally, which now it's harder to do. And the just a little quick opinion of mine, that the fact that they're building a wall that's bigger than the one that's now, I feel like it's not really going to do much, because not many people cross through the wall anymore, because there's a lot of border patrols and it is very, very dangerous. You can lose your life. It's very easy to get lost. And a lot of people don't want to cross people illegally anymore, because even though it gives you good money, and even though those coyotes are doing something very, very illegal, there's still a lot of people don't want to do that anymore. So it's not something that is really done anymore. And like I said, me as a first hand that I experienced is that even though none of my immediate family, none of my uncles, none of my grandparents are in the United States illegally, I still have friends of my family, or people that are just in our neighborhood, or just people that we know, people from our church, people from our community that have came to the United States illegally, and it has not been through the wall, and it has not been through the river. So the fact that the United States is spending so much time and money trying to build a bigger and better wall is really just going to be a waste of money, because like I said, a lot of people are already taking other alternatives to coming through there. So, and even if they're coming illegally to a country, I feel like if you want to stop it, because everybody leaves their country, like the Devil's Highway said, we met these men individually. Everybody has a reason to come to the United States. Everybody has a reason to leave their country. And a lot of these reasons have to do with the violence going on. So if you want people to stop coming to your country, I feel like the best way to start is to invest in the countries being affected, to help combat what is making the people leave the country. And that way you won't have to worry about the expenses of deporting back a person, of them taking the jobs. But if you just invest, that will keep people inside their country. And those are my thoughts, and those were my thoughts that sprung after reviewing The Devil's Highway. And like I said, it is a very interesting book, and it just made me want to read more from the author. Luis, what was his last name? His name is Luis Alberto Surea. Luis Alberto Urea. Yeah. It was a very interesting book, and yeah,